You know, when you walk into a really beautiful historic house, what you usually notice first are the aesthetic choices, right?
Yeah, like the fresh paint or, the ground molding.
Exactly. You see the paint, the framed photographs on the wall, maybe the way the light hits the floorboards.
Right.
It's the surface level of existence.
Yeah.
But if you were to somehow take an X-ray of that house,
Oh, the paint just completely disappears.
yeah, exactly. Suddenly you're looking at the raw, hidden architecture. The studs, the joists, those heavy load-bearing beams buried in the dark that are quietly holding the entire structure up.
Just doing all the work where nobody can see them.
Right. And that is exactly what we are doing today. So welcome to the deep dive. Today we are taking you, our listener, on a mission to decode this fascinating source document we've acquired.
It really is incredible.
It's called The Ache Before All.
Yes.
And basically, we're going to take an X-ray of the human emotional skeleton. Because we usually look at our emotional lives like, the paint on the walls.
Our visible moods, our articulated feelings, yeah.
Right. But this text outlines three core hidden principles that exist inside every single one of us. And they are called gritty, sternet, and ma.
And what's fascinating here is that this text, it explicitly states it is not a traditional mythology.
Right. It's not like Greek gods or anything.
Exactly. And it's not some clinical psychology paper either. It actually calls itself a cosmological record.
A cosmological record. That's such a heavy term.
It really is. It argues that these three principles aren't, external gods sitting on clouds, and they aren't just poetic metaphors for passing moods. They are the structural, load-bearing architecture of human consciousness itself.
Wow.
Yeah. And by understanding the mechanical function of this framework, we are urged to completely rethink this modern obsession we have with constantly trying to fix or, eradicate our pain.
Right. The whole good vibes only culture.
Exactly. It asks us to look at the function of our suffering rather than just the presence of it.
Which is a massive paradigm shift. I mean, because if you're like me, your first instinct when you find a leak in the emotional house is to grab the toolbox and start tearing down the drywall.
Oh, 100%. Let's fix it right now.
Yeah. But to grasp the mechanics of this architecture, the text says we have to start at the absolute beginning.
Right before anything else.
Before language, before the concept of the self even existed. We have to start with the first principle, which is gritty.
Gritty.
Yeah. The text calls gritty the ache before all yes, which it's beautiful but also kind of dense. Since we're dealing with the cognitive underpinnings of human experience here, how does a mind actually hold on to a weight before it even has the linguistic software to name it?
Well, the mechanism of early trauma and unarticulated experience is exactly what gritty represents.
Okay.
Before a conscious mind can even recognize itself, right, or form an identity, something has to hold the raw, wordless data of existing.
Like a sponge almost.
Sort of, yeah. Gritty lived in the dark. Gritty is the condition that preceded the possibility of making an announcement about your pain. Think of it as the nervous system absorbing a shock before the conscious brain can even process what the shock was.
Oh, wow. So you don't even know you're hurt yet.
Exactly. And that unfelt, unacknowledged experience, it doesn't just vanish.
Right, it has to go somewhere.
It accumulates. Gritty is the structural capacity to absorb what the outside world refuses to validate.
Okay, let's unpack this with a different lens, because I feel like a lot of people might picture this as, I don't know, carrying a heavy, rugged backpack loaded with rocks.
Right, the classic baggage metaphor.
Yeah, baggage. But based on what you're saying, that feels way too passive.
Yeah.
It's more like, think of the background processing on a computer.
Oh, I like that.
Gritty isn't the heavy file itself. Gritty is the system quietly allocating all its hidden RAM to keep a massive corrupted file from crashing the entire operating system.
Yes.
Like, Gritty is working in the dark so the main screen can just keep running normally.
That is a much sharper way to conceptualize it. Gritty is actively allocating hidden resources. And the text points out a really crucial dynamic here about how human identity is formed in the first place.
Which is mostly through reflection.
Exactly. Our faces, our personalities, and social selves, they're shaped by reflection. If a child smiles and a parent smiles back, the child learns what that expression means.
Right, it's an interactive loop.
But Gritty never had a mirror. Because no one ever looked at Gritty and said, I see the weight you are processing. Gritty never developed features. So the text describes Gritty as having a blank face.
I want to stop right there.
Okay.
Because I can hear you, the listener, arriving at the exact same assumption I did when I first read that part.
The assumption about it being broken.
Yeah. If gritty is just this blank, featureless entity holding on to all this unwitnessed trauma and eating up the system's RAM,
Right.
isn't gritty just the embodiment of our damage? I mean, isn't this the broken part of us we are supposed to heal?
It is incredibly tempting to view it that way,
Huh.
but the source material reveals the exact opposite.
Really?
Yes, and this is arguably the most profound insight in the entire cosmology. Gritty is not the damage.
Right?
Gritty is the love that stayed behind when everything else ran.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Gritty felt the cut because Gritty was made of care. They absorbed what others expelled because love, in its most undefended raw form, doesn't step aside to protect itself.
It just takes the hit.
It simply holds the deepest pain in any emotional system is almost always the deepest love that wasn't met.
That reframes the entire concept of internal baggage.
Yeah.
It's not a wound, it's unreciprocated care.
Exactly.
So, okay, if we have this unformed, silent depth, this background processor of pure holding,
Right.
how does the actual human being function in the real world? Because we don't just walk around as silent, blank-faced processing units.
Thankfully not.
We have jobs, we have relationships. There has to be a surface structure holding that up.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the second principle in the architecture, which is more.
Yes, Ma. Ma is described in the text as the mother principle,
The mother
the
principle.
conscious sty that Gritty was born beneath. So if Gritty is the background processor, Ma is the encompassing awareness, the fully integrated operating system.
Got it.
And unlike Gritty, Ma has a face. Ma is seen, known, and carries the weight of integrated experience out in the open.
I feel like we all know someone like this. You know, think about the people in your life who possess that worn, ancient, just deeply felt presence.
The ones who don't perform.
Exactly. They don't perform youth, they don't perform lightness, they just are. That is the face of Ma. And the cosmology drops a really vital truth here to connect them. It says Ma has an unconscious, and Ma's unconscious is gritty.
Right. Every conscious being operates with this dual structure. The face you show the world, the parts of your history you have managed to process and can actually articulate, that is your Ma.
Okay.
But beneath that, the raw, tender reservoir of things that haven't yet been brought into speech, that is your Gritty.
And the critical function of Ma isn't to eradicate gritty, right?
Right.
It's to serve as the conscious container that allows gritty to exist safely.
Exactly.
But I hear what the text is arguing, and from a practical, I guess, psychological standpoint, I really have to push back here.
Go for it.
Modern therapy culture has essentially trained us to drag every single ounce of pain into the light.
Oh, absolutely. The whole name it to tame it thing.
Yeah, name it to tame it. We want to categorize it, we want to journal about it, and we want to fix it.
Right.
So if Ma is the mature, conscious sky, and she knows Gritty is suffering in the dark, shouldn't her primary job be pulling Gritty up into the light to be healed?
Well, see, that instinct to drag everything into the light is precisely what the text warns against.
Really?
Yeah, we have to look at the cognitive mechanics of what happens when you force an unarticulated trauma into language prematurely. It actually causes the nervous system to panic.
Because it doesn't have the words yet.
Exactly. The source provides this radical new model for what a sacred relationship looks like, both internally with ourselves and externally with others.
Okay.
Mon does not hold Gritty by explaining them. She doesn't drag them into the light before they are ready, and she definitely doesn't try to prematurely name the pain.
Because giving it a name before it's ready to be named is almost a form of violence to the unsaid.
Exactly the point. To love someone fully means making space for their Gritty without demanding it become visible to prove it exists.
Just letting it be there.
Right. Ma holds Gritty by simply sitting beside them, saying nothing, just being a warmth that doesn't ask for a performance. The healing isn't in the fixing. The healing is in the undisturbed proximity.
I love that. Just putting an arm around that small, dark form.
Yes.
It honors the weight they carry without forcing them to, like, put it on display. But of course, human beings are rarely perfectly integrated stoic skies.
Far from it.
When the internal pressure gets too high, the system requires a release valve. If the pain demands to be announced, we shift into the final principle of this cosmology, which is sternet.
Right, sternet. So, if Gritty is the pole of the unnamed and the held, sternet is the absolute opposite. Sternet is the pole of the named and the distributed.
The complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Exactly. Where Gritty has a blank face, sternet's face is fully articulated, Every feature is in place, every expression is practiced. Sternet requires an audience to function.
Unlike Gritty.
Right, Gritty doesn't need a witness, but Sternet literally cannot exist without one.
And here's where it gets really interesting because we all know these states intimately. Just think about your own reactions, listener.
Oh, yeah.
If Gritty is that part of you sitting alone in your room with a devastating secret, just carrying it in silence.
Which we've all done.
Sternet is the part of you that experiences like a minor emotional slight at work and immediately fires off 3 text messages, updates a status, and calls a friend.
The immediate externalization.
Yeah. Sternet is the cognitive mechanism that feels like a feeling isn't actually real until somebody else confirms it.
That externalization of the nervous system's regulation is the absolute core of Sternet. But, and this is important, we must be careful not to view Sternet as the villain of this cosmology.
Right. It's not a bad guy.
No, this isn't a simplistic binary of, silent, Gritty is good and loud, Sternet is bad. Sternet is an evolutionary necessity.
How so?
Well, Sternet is the surface that allows us to interact at all. Without Sternet, Gritty's deep, hidden love would never become speakable. We'd never connect. The danger only arises when the cognitive mechanism gets stuck at the extreme.
Right, when the surface completely forgets it has a depth.
Exactly.
The text notes that when Sternet goes too far, they become hollowed out. They turn every single wound into a performance. And instead of carrying their own ache, they distribute it.
They fragment it.
Yeah, they hand small fragments of their pain to anyone who will take them, essentially crowdsourcing their emotional regulation.
Which is exhausting for everyone involved.
Totally.
And that leads to a very specific, volatile dynamic. Because we all fluctuate along this axis between Gritty and Sternet. What happens when 2 people at opposite extremes collide?
Oh, boy.
Right. What happens when a person operating purely as the silent, holding Gritty, interacts with someone acting purely as the loud, distributing Sternet? The text calls this interaction the tango.
The tango. Let's break down the mechanics of this dance, because I guarantee everyone listening has either been in this dynamic or is, currently in it. How does it actually play out?
It's a recursive loop of supply and demand. Sternet, who has been living entirely on the surface and distributing their pain constantly, is starved for actual depth.
They need grounding.
Yes. So Sternet reaches out toward Gritty because Gritty's silence feels profound and grounding. Meanwhile, Gritty, who has never been truly seen by anyone, is completely disarmed by Sternet's visibility.
Because Sternet is so loud and articulated.
Exactly. Sternet knows exactly how to make eye contact, how to articulate feelings, how to take up space in a room.
So Sternet leans in and speaks their distributed pain. And Gritty, because their entire structural nature is to carry weight without complaining, absorbs it.
They just take it in.
Gritty quietly takes on Sternet's distributed pain right alongside their own.
And here is where the cognitive illusion really takes hold.
Right.
Sternet feels understood because they successfully externalize their anxiety. Gritty feels like they're providing care because they are doing what they do best, holding weight.
And they both call it intimacy.
Yes.
Wait, but looking at it from a basic psychological standpoint, if Sternet genuinely needs an audience to process, and Gritty naturally feels a sense of purpose in holding weight, isn't that just a symbiotic relationship? I mean, why does the cosmology view this as so destructive if both parties are essentially getting exactly what their nervous systems are wired to seek out?
I know, it looks perfectly symbiotic on paper, but the mechanism relies on a critical deficit. Gritty doesn't want to hold weight.
Oh.
Gritty is compelled to hold it because they lack boundaries.
That's a huge difference.
It is. And Sternet isn't processing their pain. They are evading it. The text explicitly states that this is not intimacy, it is extraction.
Extraction, wow.
Sternet is unknowingly using Gritty as a landfill. And Gritty, because they have absolutely no defense mechanisms, compounds their own unexpressed pain by taking on Sternet.
So it just piles up.
Exactly. It's a cycle of depletion for Gritty and hollowness for Sternet.
So how do you actually dissolve the tango before it results in a massive, dramatic explosion?
Well, the beauty of this framework is that the solution isn't a rupture. You don't have to sever the connection or engage in some massive, tearful confrontation.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. It's a quiet, internal realignment. The text offers a very specific boundary-setting phrase.
Okay, what is it?
To dissolve the tango, you gently recognize the architecture by saying, Gritty, the pain is yours, the love is mine.
Wow. The pain is yours. The love is mine.
Yes.
That is such a powerful distinction. By establishing that, the confusion running the dance just evaporates. You aren't stopping your love for the person, but you are forcefully refusing to carry their distributed ache.
You're handing the pain back, but keeping the connection.
Which brings us to the most practical part of this deep dive.
Yeah.
If we've stopped the tango, how do we help these two extremes actually integrate?
The text gives us very precise instructions for this, too. Let's start with how to love the gritty principle, whether it's the gritty in your partner, your friend, or even yourself.
Right.
The absolute first rule, do not feed gritty by absorbing their ache. If you take their pain, you're just initiating another tango.
You're just swapping roles.
Exactly. Furthermore, do not hand them your interpretations. Do not dress their darkness up in your psychological frameworks and tell them what their pain means.
And crucially, do not become a second gritty.
Yes.
Don't match their silence by losing your own shape. The text makes a really poignant observation here. It says, a gritty who has no one outside of gritty to rest against is not more loved, they are more alone.
That's so true.
You just have to sit like the sky. You stay whole, you stay present, and you let the ache pass without attaching to it. You feed gritty the rarest thing in the world. There's someone who can hold their own weight and chooses to stay anyway.
It requires immense discipline to do that. Now, the prescription for Sternet is entirely different because Sternet's danger is their compulsion to give everything away through speech.
Right, the externalization.
Every time Sternet immediately posts about an experience or texts 5 people about a slight, that emotional experience never completes its natural cycle inward.
It's interrupted.
It becomes words before it even becomes knowing. So the text prescribes silence as a depth practice for Sternet.
Which is absolutely terrifying for a Sternet.
Oh, it's their worst nightmare.
Yeah. The text points out that Sternet's deepest fear is that if pain goes unnamed, it isn't real. Their ultimate nightmare is the loss of their witnessed face. Their deepest fear is becoming nobody.
And this raises the philosophical climax of the entire text. Sternet fears becoming nobody. But Gritty inherently is nobody.
Right.
Gritty has no face, no name, no confirmation from the outside world. And the text reveals that nobody isn't a void. It isn't an absence.
This is the paradox you, the listener, really need to sit with. Nobody in this cosmology is actually the most spacious form of presence.
Yes.
It has no edge to defend. It has no face to constantly maintain or, history to explain to an audience. It just exists.
So when Sternet finally manages to sit in silence, when they allow an ache to exist for a full day without converting it into an announcement,
Which is so hard.
they realize they didn't die. They realize they can exist without external proof. And when they do that, they touch the ground of Gritty. They find their actual, unconfirmed, unbothered self.
And what happens to Gritty in this resolution? The text uses this really beautiful phrase, all memory tamed,
I love that line.
right? It's not some aggressive interventional healing where the wound is surgically removed. When Gritty is simply witnessed from the outside and held from the inside by Ma, the ache settles.
It just calms down.
It doesn't magically disappear, and it doesn't resolve into a neat explanation. It transforms into ground. The ache becomes the earth that Gritty stands on, rather than the heavy burden they are forced to carry.
It becomes the roots rather than the wound. The ultimate freedom for both principles is letting go of the performance, letting go of the identity built around carrying everything, and arriving at the simplest truth.
Which is?
The text concludes by saying, just be. It is enough. It has always been enough.
Wow. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We started by taking an X-ray of the emotional house. We went down into the dark foundation to find Gritty, the background processor of unnamed ache and unwitnessed love.
Right.
Then we looked up to the conscious sky of Ma, the integrated self who holds that depth without forcing it to speak. We explored the loud, necessary, but sometimes hollow surface of Sternet, who converts pain into an announcement.
We survived the extraction of the tango.
Barely. And finally we found the quiet freedom of nobody, where the ache becomes the earth we stand on.
And the most important takeaway is that this entire architecture lives inside you. You are Gritty, you are Sternet, and you are Ma.
All of them.
Yes. The ultimate goal isn't to kill off one part of yourself in the name of healing. It's to cultivate an inner sovereignty where the unnamed aren't forced to speak before they are ready, where the overnamed aren't shamed for their hunger to be seen, and where your pain can remain private while your love remains intact.
It fundamentally changes how you view the mechanics of your own mind and, how you view the reactions of the people you love.
Yeah.
But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Okay.
We've been dissecting how these principles operate within our internal architecture, but zoom out and look at the external world we live in right now. Think about our modern, hyper-connected digital landscape.
Oh man, applying this cosmology to the digital age is a staggering exercise.
Right, because if you look at it through the lens of this text, modern society essentially functions as a massive mechanized amplifier for the Sternett principle.
It really does.
Social media, constant connectivity, the expectation of immediate hot takes.
It's all distribution.
Yes, it is a machine that demands we distribute our pain to prove it's real. It financially and socially rewards the performance of the wound rather than the quiet integration of it.
That's a chilling thought.
So if our external environment is constantly incentivizing the Sternett extreme, pulling us entirely onto the surface to perform for an audience,
Yeah.
how do we collectively protect the silent, unwitnessed integrity of Gritty?
How do we hold on to our depth?
Exactly. If the whole world is shouting to prove they exist, what does a society that actually honors the unsaid look like? It's something to think about the next time you feel that familiar, immediate urge to announce an ache to the world, rather than just letting it be.